And so what I would want to see is regulations that, I don't want to see policy tools that that further regulate, but policy tools that loosen, but loosen at the right parts. And so threshold taxes, I believe, would be one form. Threshold, both taxes and regulations for agricultural products, would allow people to build resilient, interdependent networks of exchange within localities, grounding people to place and then drawing their economic activity closer to first things. So that would be something that I would say would be a distributist oriented policy, because it would result in more people having the means of production and access to property by creating small scale revenue. And so you're empowering more people to have access to more means of production and property. The second one would be programs that cultivate and keep alive craft skills. In a purely capitalist society, right, we would just, innovation and condensing capital around innovation would create the benefit of all. So, hey, if it doesn't work economically, well, that's an indication that we can get rid of it. And so there's no economic motivator in a lot of cases to preserve an art like timber framing or an art like other things. They don't become economically salvable. Complicated winemaking or cheese making or other crafts, stone masonry, all of these things. And so in first things are not only to be thought of about like in a purely material way where I need access to like clean water and food and the divine order that God intended in providing us this beautiful earth, right? I don't just need access to those material things. In order to know how to use those material things, I also need access to traditions and craft traditions and skills. And so distributist policy would be one that cultivates and puts, in the same way that we've agreed about to have a highway, I agree that cutting hay by hand shouldn't be extinguished from the knowledge, from the living knowledge of our society. There is not an economic benefit for it. That is not why we're doing it. We are doing it so people can remain close to first things, that an individual and a community are able to produce for themselves first things from the land and the property around them. And so orienting ourselves, thinking like that, kind of, me and you could probably sit here and come up with like 5 more of how do we fund and think about policy that eliminates poverty by bringing people in closer access to first things. Right now, the way we can just look at our current national debate, right? People are eliminating poverty by providing a wage. Well, we're going to give you a UBI, they call it. We're going to give you a UBI, and that's by giving you money, you can go and but that money is a secondary means with which to access those first things. And so making investments in those very, very first things themselves, a well pump on every farm that operates by hand, funded by the government, that would be distributist oriented policy. We can all pump our water now, no matter what happens. The grid could shut down. We brought everybody to closer proximity to first things. That would eliminate poverty. And so that this is these types of thinking. I could just like rattle off a mule and a plow for every single person, and courses to train people to do that, to how gardening courses, put on ag agents that preserve agricultural and artistic skills and craft skills.
Seems like removing licensing would be a huge thing as well. I mean, now I'd like my doctor to have maybe some sort of accreditation, and my lawyer as well. I'd like some sort of maybe accreditation there, but I don't think I need it for the person that cuts my hair or the waitress, that brings me a beer. I don't think it really takes some crazy licensing to be able to go grab a beer if you're going to bring it to a table at a restaurant. Right. I think those sorts of things to me seem like a much better way. That it seems to me like a lot of the complaints against capitalism too